That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Wow.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Retro Fandango, episode number 243. The big return from the summer hiatus. And look at this. We have Deke at the Distortion Den. Already here waiting. Got an announcement to make. I'll make it right off the start. This is the last Fandango because I'm moving on to do a show with Deke. Goodbye, everybody. No. I am starting a show with Deke. It's all going to be about music, so Richard will have no interest in it. But if you like music, you might have some interest in it. So watch for that soon. It'll be on Deke's channel, The Distortion Den. But rest assured, Retro Fandango is not going anywhere. Why would it? This is too much fun.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Talk about Star Trek.
Yes.
Talk about Star Trek on a music podcast.
And Deke gives me the same look. Like when I talk to you about music, that's the look I get from Deke when I talk about Star Trek.
There you go. You got balance
Very
out.
similar. Yeah.
So what? Bump it up a little bit. What are you going to talk about?
Well, Deke is thanking me for the plug, but it's a plug for me too. So basically, when Deke was here the last time, we just started talking about music, and then we started talking about collecting vinyl records and the prices versus collecting CDs. And then he ended up picking up CDs, and I ended up picking up CDs. And so then it just we're gonna talk about stuff that we're getting. So it's on his channel, The Distortion Den. The show will be called Distortion Gems because we'll be picking up gems.
Okay.
When I was coming up with a little graphic for the start of the show, it asked me for a subtitle. So I had like a title, and then it asked me for a subtitle. I'll let you read the subtitle for yourself.
Talking about this show?
No. Subtitle for Distortion Gems. This show does not have a subtitle. It's just Retro Fandango.
It does. It's Papers Now, jerk.
That's an episode title. But yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's all going to be about music, probably mostly hard rock and a little heavy metal, a little pop music, and all that stuff. But just about we're just going to be talking about collections and collecting, kind of like the show that we were doing on Bill's channel, The Collectors. But it's just going to be focused on music. Since that show, I think it's done. I don't know. It's I haven't heard anything from it. I think it's safe for me to move on.
About VHS now.
The VHS has definitely killed that show because, and I have no interest in VHS. So guess I was left out in the cold.
When is the first episode coming out?
Sometime next week. I finished it, like it's all done, but we're uploading it on his channel. So we're just going to figure out the logistics of getting it on his channel tomorrow. And then he can post it whenever he likes. It's not, there's going to be no set schedule or anything like that. We're just going to do it whenever we feel like it.
What's the time sync here? Is it 30 minutes, an hour?
Our goal is 45 minutes, but episode one went for an hour 10. Yeah. And I'm hoping that's just because we had to set, like we were setting things up a little bit, so that took about 10 minutes at least. So I'm hoping that we'll find a rhythm. We'll find it. We'll get it together. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to have someone to talk to about music and all that fun stuff.
I talk to you about music. Ask me anything.
I do, and you get angry with me because you think I'm making fun of you. So I
remember. Slash is a Guns N' Roses guy.
That's right. He is.
I retain information.
That's good. Very good. If I had my applause sound effect, I would play it for you right now.
I'll
Rocket
applaud
Sauce
myself.
is here. Well, now that Sauce is here, I guess we should plug the show that we did with Sauce last week. Should be posted sometime this month. We were guests on the Cartridge Club episode for August. The game of the month in August was Papers, Please. And Richard and I both played it. And Kevin is talking to Slash. No, I am not talking to Slash. That would be awesome.
It's a common mistake. I get that a lot.
Although Deke he has some connections in the big AAA music world. So you never know what might happen. I mean, he's friends with Mike Frazier, and many of you probably do not know who Mike Frazier is, but the band, my favorite band of all time, AC/DC, often record here in Canada in Vancouver. And when they do, they get Mike Frazier to do the engineering and mixing for them on their album. So his name, you can go as far back as the Razor's Edge from 1990 and see Mike Frazier's name on all of their albums since then, all their albums and all their film releases and all that. He has been behind the chair mixing all of those. And that was an interesting guy that Deke had interviewed a while ago. But yeah, so you never know what might happen. Who knows? Okay. But we're all just doing this for fun. So, Anyway.
So now we can explain the title of this episode, Papers Now Jerk, that the jerk is in the comments there.
Rocket Sauce's jerk?
I assume that's what you meant.
No, I got a story for you. It's very interesting how this developed, and that we had just finished playing Papers, Please with the Cartridge Club. I'm just if anyone doesn't know what Papers, Please is, it's a very interesting video game where it's not like a normal game where you're a little guy jumping around the screen or a first-person shooter or that. It's a bit of a and he hates these cans. I got that reference. That's from the jerk. Well, I wanted to say Papers Now, bitch, but I wasn't sure if YouTube would let me do that, so I went with jerk. Anyways, so this game, Papers, Please, you play a border agent during the Cold War in the early 80s in an fictional Eastern European country. But it's pretty much Russia. And the game constantly tasks you as a border agent to make decisions based on the rules that you have to follow from your country, and also information that the people that you're interviewing as they try to come into the country, if their information has to be all correct. They might have a story or something like that they might not have all the information, but their story makes sense or whatever. So there's different ways you can play the game. You can be lenient and let people in, but you have to be careful that you don't do that too often, because you get a penalty every time you do not follow the rules. And there's also a time crunch where you can't spend too much time trying to make decisions and all that. It's a really interesting and complex game. Now, when I played the game with the Cartridge Club this past month, I played it very strictly by the rules. I played it, whatever the rules said, that's what I did, because I wanted to see what the outcome would be if I had done that. Plus, when I was spending too much time trying to figure out if I should let someone in or not, I was losing time. So it's just easier to stick to the rules and see what happens. Right. So, and Richard, you played the game a very similar way. Because we both got.
I tried a few different things, but then that's how I settled for the main playthrough. Yeah.
And we both got the same ending. So as life has this weird way of coincidences and things working out, I was sort of on the receiving end of that kind of interaction in real life.
Okay.
So I bought myself a trailer And in the province of Ontario, a trailer, it's just a utility trailer, small utility trailer that I put a hitch on our Toyota Corolla, and basically going to be using it. I want to get Sarah and I a couple of kayaks because we enjoy kayaking. And then the utility trailer will also be used for many other things, hauling
records,
wood, and there's been a couple of collections that I've seen on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, well, that trailer would take care of that problem this person has, but no. So a trailer in the province of Ontario is considered a vehicle, and you have to get it licensed as if it is a proper vehicle. So I bought this trailer online through a Canadian company called Rona. They're basically a Home Depot type of outfit. And the trailer that I got was an online exclusive. So I bought it online, had it delivered to the house. And when you purchase a vehicle in Ontario, you have to have the owner of the vehicle, which if you were buying a car from a lot, it would be the lot that owns the vehicle, and they would sign it over to you, sign the title over to you. Same thing if you bought a used vehicle, the owner signs the title over to you. So I'm like, how does this work for an online purchase? And ahead of time, I looked up online, and they said what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to Rona and get somebody there to sign it over to you. So I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. It's a trip to Rona that I don't really want to make, but whatever. So I get the trailer. I open up all the paperwork that comes with it. The trailer came in 4 different boxes, by the way, and I had to assemble it all together. Rona was a little confused on how I got a trailer delivered to me. They were like, did they drag it behind you, or like behind the delivery vehicle or not? No, it comes in pieces. You put it together. Anyways, so the paperwork comes, and the person that owned it, like they kind of use, I guess they're like a bit of a third party that's using Rona to sell on, kind of like how a lot of stuff is sold on Best Buy right now. A lot of them are third party sellers or whatever.
Okay.
Anyways, the person there had signed the title already. So I just had to fill in my portion of it. So on Thursday, what's today? Friday? No, on Wednesday, I got the trailer all together. I got the lights all working and all that. Time to get the title over into my name. So I start filling out my portion of it, and I realized I screwed up the name part. I put my first name and then my second name, but they wanted it the other way around. Second name first, first name last. So I crossed out my name and then corrected and put my name at the end. So I go over to now, I have the title. I have to get it a license plate for it. So to do that in Ontario, we don't have a DMV like you have in the United States. We have places called Service Ontario. And Service Ontario, they don't just do licenses and automobiles and stuff like that. They also do like fishing licenses and all sorts of things that they do for the government. They're private companies that basically have a contract with the government. So, we had one in Stouffville, and it was always a pain to get into. Like, anytime I went to the one in Stouffville, I was at least a half a dozen to a dozen people would be in front of me in line. You're going to be waiting a while, like an hour, before you get to somebody. It was just always rammed. When we moved here to Chelmsford, there's a nice little Service Ontario in the mall, and it's always empty. There's not a lot of people in there. And anytime I've gone in there, I've never had a problem. So I go to the Service Ontario, and I get this person that I don't normally get there. She's the only person working there. And I get my so first of all, I get there and there's somebody waiting or somebody being served kind of thing. So I walk in and there's like a number system that they have, right? Where you take a number and then they call your number kind of thing. But I'm the only person there, right? So I'm like, well, do I take a number or not? I'm like, I better just follow the rules and I'll take a number. So I take a number and then I start like getting my paperwork together and getting my license out ready to go and all that. And after she finishes with the first person, and this woman has done this to me before. I've never dealt with her like one-on-one, but I've seen her do this to other people where she finishes with the person and then she goes off into a little side room. And she's not in that, it's not a bathroom or anything like that. She's not in there long enough to be using the bathroom. She just kind of goes into this side room and does whatever it is for about 20 seconds and then comes and walks very slowly back to her position. And then she'll call you. And it's almost like a little tiny power trip thing that she does, right? Because she's going to be ready to serve you when she's ready to serve you. Doesn't it doesn't matter how, but whatever. I don't care, right? Play your game or whatever. I don't care. I'm just there for a play. So I walk up to she calls me up, doesn't say the number or anything like that. So I took the number for no reason, but I give her the number and I say, okay, I need a license plate for a trailer that I just bought. And I pass over the paperwork. She looks down at it. She doesn't even touch it. She says, I can't do anything with this. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I can't do anything with this because you have your name crossed out there. And that's a change. And you're going to have to get that change initialed by the person who sold you the trailer.
Okay.
So you already know my plight here. I'm like, okay, I don't have access to the person that I bought the trailer from. Well, she's like, well, where did you get it? So I bought it from Rona. So then she goes on a big, 30 seconds about what I have to do to get this thing, this thing. You go to the person that sold it to you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. But I didn't actually buy it from Rona here in Sudbury. I bought it online. And the person, that signed the title over for me, he's like down in Southern Ontario or somewhere. She's like, it doesn't matter. You just have to go to Rona and you have to get this changed initialed. And I'm like, so I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, I don't really understand, how another person initialing this change. Like, that's not the person I bought the trailer from. That doesn't make sense to me. And she's like, regardless, that's what you have to do. You have to go get it initialed. But I'm like, well, who would I get at Rona to initial it? She's like, it doesn't matter. Just anybody who works there.
Okay.
Like, well, okay, look, this doesn't make sense to me because nobody that works there is like, they don't even know that I bought the trailer, right? I bought it from online. She's like, oh, you bought it online? I said, yes. She's like, and she's like, well, where's your receipt? I said, well, it's here on my phone. She's like, I can't do anything with that. I'm like, what do you mean? I can't take receipts that are on a phone. It's probably not even the right receipt if you bought it online. It's probably an invoice. They only issue invoices online. They don't issue receipts. And I'm like, yes, this is a receipt. She's like, does it have an HST number on it? I'm like, it's a receipt. I don't know. Would you like to look at it? No, I can't look at it. It's on your phone. She's like, what you have to do is you have to go to Rona. You have to get a person to initial this change, and you have to get a receipt printed out. And I'm like, I don't know if I can, because they didn't actually sell me the trailer. She's like, well, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure it out. I'm like, okay. I guess I'm going to Rona. It's making a trip that I didn't want to make. I didn't think I had to make, but I guess I'm going to go to Rona.
But now, just out of curiosity, not to interrupt, but the woman you're dealing with here, she older than you, younger than you?
I really have no clue. I don't know.
No? Okay.
I'm really bad.
I'm just trying to get a picture.
I think she might be either she might be 5 years older than me. I don't know, somewhere in that range. And I wasn't trying.
This is the way she deals with everybody.
Oh yeah. Listen. Once I was done, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Rona. And I'm like, okay, so I'll get this initialized and I'll get a receipt with an HST number. I start walking out. This while that our interaction was happening, a woman had walked in. It was a young mother. She had the small baby in the carriage, and she had the number in her hand. And as I'm walking out, she's like, sometimes what you need, the receipt that you need, it'll be taped to the side of the box. They'll put it in a little envelope in the side of the box. This woman from behind the counter just starts berating her. Lady,
Really?
that's not what I told him. The information I told him was completely different from that. Like, holy crap. Okay, I'm out of here. So I go to Rona. First of all, I go home and I said, Sarah, I got that crazy woman at Service Ontario. She's just so nasty. She's so angry. Like, it's just insane. So I told her
what you want, but it sounds like you do have a DMV up in there.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I tell Sarah, look, I'm gonna have to go to Rona, and I'm gonna have to do this. I'm like, do you want to come with me? She's like, absolutely. I want to on this. I'm like, okay. So we go to Rona, and we explain what the situation is, and they're just like, I've never dealt with anything like this before. This just all seems kind of weird. They got the manager over. The manager's looking at this thing. He's like, I don't understand why they just didn't print you out a receipt. You have it on your phone? I said, yes. I don't understand. That seems like a really simple thing to do. So he's looking at it and he's like, okay. And like, really, like, my name scratched out. It was like basically a smudge on this thing. So he initialed the smudge on my title. And then he was nice enough to print out a receipt from Rona, even though they don't sell the trailer. It's an online exclusive, but he still found a way to print a receipt. His first thing that he was going to do is that he was going to give me the money back, refund my money for their trailer, and then sell me the trailer again so he could have a proper receipt. But he found a way to do it through online. And then he printed out my receipt that I had from online, because the receipt they gave me didn't have an HST number on it. So
What
I
is
have
an HST number.
It's a harmonized sales tax. That's when you buy something, it's issued a harmonized sales tax number, and they have to put that in their paperwork whenever a transaction like a car or a trailer takes place, a boat, whatever it is, whatever sort of a motorcycle, whatever sort of vehicle you bought, it's assigned an HST number, and that's what they need for their paperwork, which is fine. So I got all that stuff together, and we're good, right? I got 2 receipts. I got my title. I got it initialed. We drive all the way back to Chelmsford. By the way, Rona is on the other side of Sudbury. It is a half an hour away. It's not a short trip, right? So this is an hour round trip. I'm coming back, basically spending all afternoon doing this. At first, we weren't going to come back right away. We were going to, because we kind of like to make it worth it when we have to go into town, and I'm like, I got to put this past me. Let's just go right back to Chelmsford. So I go there again. I grab a number, even though there was only one person in front of me, but I, stand there and wait. And she was like, the guy just came in and asked a question, and she was just like being very gruff with him and blah, 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 blah. But their interaction was very short. So I go up there and I'm like, okay, I got the guy to initial the title, and I got a receipt, and I also got my receipt that I got with the HST number. She's like, where's the letter? I'm like, what letter? And you can ask Sarah, man. She flipped on me. She just started yelling at me. I told you needed a letter signed that states that they are okay with the change that they made on your title. And I'm like, this is the first I'm hearing of this letter. She's like, I told you you needed a letter with Rona's letterhead on it. It had to be a letter written out with Rona's letterhead on it. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, look, I have a receipt here that has Rona's letter head on it. I have another receipt with Rona's letterhead on it. I also had, the manager was also nice enough to say, if there's any issues, tell them to give me a call. They didn't have to do any of this because I technically didn't buy the trailer from them. They were just being nice. And she said, I could call him, but all I could say to him is that I'm going to need a letter with a letterhead on it stating that he's okay with the change. I'm like, a phone call isn't good enough? No, it has to be a letter. At this point, I'm like, I am done with this rude lady. I grab all my paperwork. I'm ready to walk out. But Sarah wanted to have a few more words with her. So Sarah's looking at her. She's like, this is an awful lot of work for a trailer. This woman's like, don't blame me. You got to blame the government for this. They require this and that and that and that and that. And that. And she's just going on and on and on. And eventually I just said, Sarah, enough. Let's get out of here. So we turn around, we start walking out. But just before we leave the room, I got to have my say. And I turned to Sarah loud enough so she could hear it. And I said, that's a person who just likes to say no. And we walk out. And I could hear her squawking some more, but we were gone. So after this, like, you know, I don't deal with confrontation very well. I'm like a little shell shocked after this, you know, like just it's like having a not to say that you know, I've experienced the same as the people in Auschwitz or anything like that, but I did feel a little bit like a Nazi Gestapo officer just yelled at me. I was like,
the modern
wow.
day equivalent.
Yes, the white privilege, whatever version of it I just had. Okay. I couldn't, like, it was around supper time. I couldn't eat. And you see the size of me. That's very unusual. I was just so upset. So we went for a walk and we were talking about it and everything. And I said, okay, seriously, like, let's go get a sandwich from our favorite deli at Cafe Wee. It's a nice little cafe here in Chelmsford. They make awesome fresh sandwiches. I'm like, that's great. I could use one of those. So we go there, we get their sandwiches. And as I stand there, Sarah goes, finds a table, and I stand there and I wait for our order and I bring it back to the table. Sarah's on Google reviews of this Service Ontario. She starts reading them off to me. There was at least 24 people with 1-star reviews who had a very similar experience that I had. And everybody's like, the blonde haired lady, that's who I dealt with. She used to work at this place. Now she works here. Then she worked at this place. Like, she's been moved around quite a lot. And I think it's because of her attitude. And enough people complain that they kind of push her off into another Service Ontario. There's another lady that works there that I've dealt with before when I did my license, when I came to Chelmsford and all that. She was super nice. But this blonde-haired lady was something else. So I
hesitated on the blonde there.
Blonde lady. So I went to Google and I was like, that's a good idea. And I wrote her a nice review as well.
Okay.
So we're sitting there afterwards, and you know, Sarah talked to her parents, and you know, her stepdad's like, you know what you do? Just go to another Service Ontario. Don't tell them anything. Don't say a word. Just deliver your stuff and see what happens. So we went on that Google reviews site, and like, it was basically just Google Maps, right? And they have all the Service Ontarios reviewed. So I'm like, let's find the highest rated one. So the highest rated one was in the Sudbury area, was in Lively, Ontario, which is just 12 kilometers down the road from us. So like, perfect. We'll go there tomorrow. So on our way there, I reiterated with Sarah. I'm like, look, let's not say anything. We're just going to put our stuff on the desk and say, I need a license, and let's see what happens. And then if she says I need this letter, I'm going to ask them to give me like an example letter, or tell me exactly what needs to be in this letter and who it needs to be from. And if it's okay if this person initialed it, and because I'm not sure if this manager is going to be there the next day at Rona. I don't want any more problems. I don't want to have to be going back and forth between Rona. over and over.
It sounds like the sort of thing that they would have a little form letter saying, you need to bring these things, ... right down the
that
list.
would have been very helpful, or even if she said, like, here, let me write down everything that you need, because there's 3 things or whatever. But, and to be honest, like, she might have said something about a letter at the beginning of the interaction. I might have forgot it, but she was just barking at me so many times. And like, at the end, I said, so I need this initialed, and I need a receipt with the HST number. She's like, yes. She didn't say anything about a letter. Like, she didn't reiterate it or anything. So that's my defense. But anyways.
Okay.
So we go to Lively. We get there. I walk in. There's signs, about a dozen signs everywhere. I'm not kidding. It says, we don't have numbers here. Just sit down and we'll call you when we're ready for you. I'm like, okay. And they're behind like a wall. They can't even see where you are in the waiting room. So they must have cameras somewhere or something. It was a little Big Brother-ish. So we walk in, and I'm like, oh, I read the sign, and I read the sign to Sarah. I'm like, okay, we'll go sit down, and we hear this lady. I can help you over here. I'm like, okay, thank you. I say thank you right away. We're going to start off on a right foot.
All right.
So we get there. I go up and I say, I need a plate for my trailer. Here is the owner, not the ownership, but the title. Here is a receipt from Rona, and here's a receipt with the HST number on it. And she looks at it. She's like, oh, okay. I don't really need this receipt here. I just need the one with the HST on it. And she just starts working away. No argument at all. Nothing. And she does it. I was looking at Sarah the whole time, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew that this lady was out. That lady was out to lunch. I knew that she was just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. I knew that there was an easier way to do this. So she does it. She does the whole thing. Anything else? Can I help you with anything else? I'm like, no, that's everything for today. But I do have one question. Please, can you answer me this one question? If I came in with a receipt on my phone, would that be okay? And first she looks at me. She's like, well, oh yeah, no problem. You could email it to us, and we can print it out for you. Which is exactly what they did for me at Rona. I'm like, okay, thank you. And Sarah and I look at each other, thank you. She's like, but not every Service Ontario would do that for you. I'm like, I know. We were at the one in Chelmsford yesterday. She's like, oh yeah. Yeah, no, we're much more helpful here. I'm like, yeah, well, this is where I'm coming from now on. So that's my story, my half-hour story.
Oh my goodness.
It was something else.
But yeah, you get those people for whatever reason. And, I understand you're wanting to be diplomatic in those situations, because you never know where the other person is coming from. You don't know what their personal life is or what they had to deal with. But,
you can't be consistently...
You're working in customer service.
Exactly. And at first I'm like, well, maybe it's because she has this cushy government job, but she really doesn't. She's working in the private sector. That all those places are owned. They're contracted out by someone else. So, wow, it was, yeah, that was something else. That was something else to be on the other side, though, because the entire time I'm thinking of Papers, Please, and me sitting behind there and like, no, you can't come into this country. You don't have your ID isn't 100% right. You got like wrong numbers on here. They're like, oh, I don't know how that happened. Well, too bad. See ya.
You just never know when the guard's going to show up. Out.
I did not go to a dispensary after that fiasco, and I did not look at her eyes. I could not tell you what her eyes are.
I'm sure her eyes were bright red.
Yeah, it was something else. Anyways.
Oh my goodness.
It gave me a good story.
It
gave me a good story anyways.
Oh man.
So what have you been up to?
I've had a much easier time than you. I went back home to visit my family. Spent a couple of weeks in the US. It was nice. It was relaxing. Bought a bunch of things, ate a bunch of things. Came back and played Papers, Please.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a nice summer.
when was the last time we recorded? Was it late July?
I
Early
think so. Yeah.
August?
Yeah. Late July. Yeah.
My
Because
goodness.
did I talk to you about, well, yeah. So it was definitely before Bill visited. And, I'm trying to think here. The last movie. Did I talk to you about The Towering Inferno? Did I tell you I watched that?
No, but I
No.
told you I watched that.
Yeah. A while ago. And I watched it because you watched it. So yeah, the last
Okay.
movies that I had watched were the
Mhm.
Deadpool movies, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right. You told me about that.
Yeah, so that was July 31st. So it's been
Okay.
a little over a month since we last
Okay.
recorded a Fandango. We did do a show last week. Just wasn't ours.
I had plans to go see that Deadpool Wolverine movie, and I tried like 2 different times, and I couldn't do it. So I missed out. It's not playing anymore.
So just because scheduling
It
conflicts,
just
or
schedule conflicts. I was like, "I'm gonna go this day," and then my wife said, "Oh, no, I have to do this thing today." "Oh, okay,
Mm,
I can't go. I'll go tomorrow." I don't feel like going today." Finally, it was, I went on the trip, came back, and then it was like, "Oh, it's actually the last day playing, today." The only showing is the late show, starts at, like,
ah,
9 o'clock at night. Like, I'm
yeah,
not doing that. I
no.
can't stay awake 9 to 11, then have to drive home, you know, midnight. No,
Do you have an IMAX theater close to you?
no,
No.
no.
Okay.
I
Because
live in the boonies here.
they just I don't know, released again. It's we could see it here in Sudbury again at the IMAX theater. They just brought it into the
Nah, it's
IMAX theater.
okay. It's like everything else. I'll just wait until it comes out on, video or whatever. I miss a lot of movies. I kept saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see that the King Kong with the big robot hand fight Godzilla."
Oh yeah.
Nope, missed out on that.
Mm.
I was gonna go see the Wolverine, missed out on that. So my next chance, I might go see the Beetlejuice because that opens up in like another week or so here. So
Yeah. I've
I just want
heard.
to go to the movies. I want to go to the theater.
I gotta say I wasn't impressed with the trailer for Beetlejuice 2. Like
I haven't watched it. I
a
just
lot
I
of
don't want to spoil anything.
this isn't a spoiler because all the jokes I saw in the trailer were the exact same jokes from the first
That's what I
movie.
was expecting. Just they're gonna do well. He did this in the last movie. Let's do
Yeah.
it again. Why
But
why bother trying to make up something new?
Rocket Sauce said saw it and he said it was good, and it's got an 82% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Yeah, we'll see.
both
We'll see.
critics and uh, audience gave it 82%. So
Okay. Well, I'm
yep.
curious to check it out.
And here's
Well,
Sauce saying that Keaton was great in it. So there you go.
I can imagine that he had a lot of energy for it because he's been wanting to do that ever since they finished the first one.
Hmm.
They
Oh,
were always
Sauce is
supposed to do that.
backpedaling now. He said it was fine. It's fine.
Oh,
Fine.
okay.
That's a direct quote. A direct quote. A quote of a quote.
Hmm. Well, I did pick up some stuff. I always take an opportunity to grab things that are hard to find around here.
Yeah.
For example, UHF.
Oh,
Ever heard
nice.
of that?
The audio
Um,
commentaries on there, can't recommend them higher. Like they're good times.
who does them? It just says
It's
audio
weird. It's
commentary.
Weird Al, and then he has
Mhm.
like kind of a carousel of people who were involved in the movie come
Okay.
in and talk about their different scenes and that, and it is very entertaining.
Okay. Cool. Um, this one, I don't know if you've ever seen these, but I've been wanting to go back to these. The Leprechaun films with
Didn't
Warwick Davis.
no, I've never seen them. No.
I've seen only the first one, and there are 7 on here. I think the 7th one has a different actor playing the Leprechaun, though.
7 Leprechaun movies on one disc.
It feels like there's a couple in there.
Okay, and these are Blu-rays.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. See that?
I see. I see. I see.
Yeah. This I got on DVD. I'm still going through the Twilight Zone. I'm up to season 4 now, and just quick mini review of that. Season 4, kind of a stinker.
Mm.
They're the hour-long episodes.
Oh yeah.
Couple of good ones in there, but for the most part, it just feels like they had an episode idea and they stretched it out to fill an hour,
Mm.
because they do tend to drag. But I wanted to get this for a while, and I was able to grab it. Night Gallery. This is
Mhm.
the series that Serling did after Twilight Zone, which I've never seen. I've never seen a single episode of this, but you will recognize the portraits on the front. That's where the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror got that idea.
Oh
This
yeah.
is a couple of the early ones, like Bart's walking past the paintings.
Right. I used to air Night Gallery at like
Oh, really?
5:30 in the morning.
Neat. I've never seen them, so I'm very curious. And I love the Piscopo.
Yes, huge
Faithful
Piscopo
listeners
guy.
know, love that Piscopo. So I got my favorite Joe Piscopo movie on Blu-ray, Dead Heat.
Wow.
I
Treat
love this
Williams
film.
and Joe Piscopo.
Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo,
I
yes.
have never heard of that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I highly recommend it if you still do your bad movie night.
Okay.
Look that up.
Okay.
I grabbed a few other things, but that's the gold right there.
Those are the highlights?
That's the gold. Yeah.
Wow. Those are some highlights.
Yeah. I also picked up a couple of books. I've been going through this one. It's called Harlan Ellison's The City on the Edge of Forever.
It's a teleplay of the episode?
Yes. Now, as again, faithful listeners of this show, they all know The City on the Edge of Forever is a episode of the original Star Trek television series.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most famous episodes. It's often cited as being the best episode. It
Yes.
involves Dr. McCoy ends up going back in time and altering time to the point that the current universe does not exist. Kirk and Spock go back, they follow him, and they have to undo what he did. And they are put into a situation where there is a moral dilemma. Do we do this? Do we do that? Do we do this? Do we do that? Mostly on Kirk's part.
Yeah, the
It's a very
original
good episode.
Yes, the original series didn't really do like it wasn't every episode had a moral dilemma. They would do that once in a while. It was part of their rotation, and then that's really what the Next Generation leaned into is that direction of the show. Yeah.
Yes. So the writer of that episode was a famous science fiction writer, Harlan Ellison. And this book is all about him trashing that episode and saying how
Really?
much he hates it.
Oh, now I want to read that.
Because, well, apparently, the gist of it is he wrote the episode, gave it to Gene Roddenberry. Roddenberry said, "Hey, I like it, but we can't shoot this. It's too expensive." Did a rewrite, did another rewrite. Basically, his script ended up going through the hands of several other people. He berates Roddenberry. He hates him. He talks so much trash about him, saying this is what he's really like. Forget about all the Trekkies and how much they love him and how much, they put him up on a pedestal. This is the real guy who steals credit and, says a bunch of lies and things like that. So it's all about him. It starts with an essay that goes on for, oh gosh, probably about 70-ish pages. Yeah, 75 pages of an essay of him just complaining and kind of repeating himself over and over of like how everything they say is untrue. I got a bad reputation from these people. They say I'm hard to work with. They say I can't write, despite the fact that I've, his original teleplay, the one that's printed in here, won all sorts of awards and everything. And then the sorry, that Star Trek talk. It's everybody.
See you, Deke. Talk to you later.
Bye. There was music in the episode. There was music.
Alexander
Is that
Courage
okay?
wrote some stuff.
Anyway, he goes on about all the trouble he had over that. And this is like 30 years after the fact. He decided to sit down and write this and then also print his original teleplay as he presented it. So it's interesting to go through and read. I got to say, little spoiler so far, he complains about all the changes that they make. Some of the changes I actually think are better than in his original teleplay. I'm not done with it yet. I'm only halfway through.
Yeah.
But there is a couple of things in his version that are like, you're kind of spoiling something. That you give something away early on that you know what I'm talking about. Spock discovers this information about halfway through the episode after things have happened. But in this version, it kind of tells you right up front that this is going to be the issue. It's like, it's a bit of a spoiler.
I got to say that complaint that he has, I've heard that before, and even on the Next Generation when Gene Roddenberry was working on it, and even when after Michael Piller had taken over the Next Generation, they would take ideas from everybody, fans. The one episode we watched where the kind of a mixed episode. I love it. I think it's great. That one episode where they go through the transporter and they come back as children. It was Picard, Ensign Rowe, and Guinan and
Rascals.
Keiko. Yeah, that was the episode. Yeah. It's a fun episode. It's kind of it's a silly premise, but it's a fun episode. But apparently I was a 17-year-old that originally came up with that. He was a Star Trek fan, and he came up with it. And he wrote a whole script and everything, and he wanted to be the kid to portray a young Picard kind of thing. But they said, but they had to take these ideas and they had to Star Trekify them, right? They had to make it fit their format and their show. I don't know if many other shows do that, because most shows, they have their own writers and they don't really take scripts from outside. But Star Trek had always been open with that, and that was Gene Roddenberry's thing. And I don't know. Sounds like the guy's a bidder for they put his name on it, right? Like, I don't understand how Gene Roddenberry took credit.
He sounds well. I don't know. I want to finish it off, and there's a couple of afterwards by Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley and a few other people. So he hates Shatner. He hates
everybody hates Shatner. That's
fine. Yeah. So yes, Rocket Sauce, I think you're referring to the author. Yes, he does hate most of the people associated with Star Trek, the brand. Yes.
Well, that's too bad.
Anyway, fun stuff.
Okay. I thought the book would be when you brought it, like it was like a fleshed out version of the story. Like he went in and filled in some blanks and that. Oh, Sauce likes that guy because he doesn't like Star Trek.
There you go. No, it's about 70-ish pages of complaining and providing references. He has some old documents and letters and things that he published in here. Then you get a treatment. There's 2 treatments of the story, and then there's the actual script, and then there's some afterwards. So a couple of interesting things in here regarding formatting and stuff that I don't know if I find that interesting. But,
yes, formatting.
Mostly it's a lot of complaining.
Like formatting, like the episode, or what do you mean? Like,
just well, I guess this may not make sense to anyone if you're unfamiliar with screenplay formatting, but for example, here the dialogue of Kirk is centered.
Okay.
Rather than being set at a particular margin.
Oh, that's not right.
Well, I've never seen it centered like that.
Hmm.
Typically, there's a a left-hand margin where you would
Right.
begin your dialogue. But any of these short and really short, the first line seems to be centered until it fills the entire space, and then the second line is formatted. Anyway,
Script formatting. That's what you come here for. That's retro
interesting
Fandango.
stuff. Interesting stuff.
I'm sure it is.
Okay. I did do one other thing that you might get a kick out of. Actually, let me send you a picture. You got your phone there?
All right. Yeah.
Or if you have a computer in front of you.
I have a computer in front of me. That's what I'm talking into, but I
Okay.
have my phone here as well.
Okay, I'll send you a picture on the Twitter just so
Okay.
you might get a kick out of it.
While we're waiting for this photo, did you? So you went back to Jersey? Did you get like a New York pizza or anything like that? What kind of?
Oh, well, my sister has a bakery. Right next to the bakery, there's a really good pizza place. So we went in there and they have good stuff. Actually, my favorite thing from there was not the pizza. It was a tuna fish sandwich.
Oh, really?
It's really good. It's just great tuna fish sandwich.
Now, how is it? How is it put together? Is it on toast or is it on a bun?
It's on one of them big old hoagie rolls.
Okay.
A lot of tuna, and then salt, pepper, vinegar, onions, all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, throw it all on there. Opened it up, realized it was raw onions. And I was like, I gotta take some of those off. Everything else, delicious.
So what's in the tuna mix? Just mayonnaise?
Oh, I have no idea. It's that magic tuna you can only get from like when somebody else makes it.
Hmm.
You ever make tuna at home and you're like, okay, I put the mayonnaise in, put the tuna in,
Yeah.
a little salt, pepper, whatever you want in there. It's like, it's okay. Doesn't taste like a deli.
You got to first of all, you got to put chopped celery in it. Chopped celery adds a texture. It adds texture. Without it, you got.
I can go without the celery.
It's
If somebody
like,
else put it in there, I'd probably be okay with it, but I'm not putting it in my own.
You got to put it.
I think the key is that a lot of that stuff is always made in advance, right? You make tuna at home, you make it, and 2 minutes later you're eating it. They make this stuff, it's in the refrigerator, it's sitting, it's gathering flavor. They use
I
a
see.
certain kind of mayonnaise or
It's
something.
soaking it up. It's soaking it in.
That helps for a lot of things. That
It's
helps.
marinating.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Chips on top instead of celery, says Sauce. Well, Sauce is like his arteries are going to clog in like any minute.
Well, that
and
I
then
stand by.
Chopped cheese on there. So
you put potato chips on any sandwich.
Yeah, it
makes it better.
It's good. But for me, I'm health conscious, and I will put celery on there for the texture. And then, if you want to get really crazy, if you want to get wild, a little bit of black olive in there. Chop that up. Oh, it's good. I'm telling you, it's good. It's good.
Olives.
It's good. Nice. Gives a nice salty taste. It's good. Good time.
All for you. I cannot eat olives if they're ever on my pizza or something.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Things off.
You just have to. You have to get accustomed to olives. You eat. I used to be the same way. I used to never eat olives, and then eventually I graduated to chopped olives in a can. Those were okay because they're not as strong. And then eventually full black olives. They got to be black olives. And then I graduated to green, and now I eat all kinds of olives. You need the palate for it. You just need to wear in your palate for it.
Hey, more for you.
Italians and your olives. Hey, it's good, man. It's good. You Americans eat your spray foam cheese. I'll eat olives. I'm good with that.
Oh, you don't like that squirt cheese in a can?
American cheese? No thanks. Pass.
One thing I did do, we were at this the Amish community. There's also the Pennsylvania Dutch. It's kind of I'm sure there's a difference, but I don't know what it is. They had a little market, and you go in there and they got all their cheeses and breads and all sorts of things they make. And I was looking at the cheese section. They had all this stuff, and they had a little sampler, those little cubes, little toothpicks. It's like, okay, what's this? What's this? I don't know. I saw something. I was like, ooh, cheddar. I like cheddar. Called Scorpion cheddar. Like, what is that? That's weird. All right, let me try it. I
Mortal
like cheddar
Kombat
cheese.
cheddar. Come out over here.
I popped that in my mouth, and like within seconds, I was coughing and gagging and choking. That thing was so hot. I was getting the hiccups. I was doing that like
Oh,
just like
how
from
is there
one
not a
tiny little
camera on this?
cube.
How is there not a
I don't
camera?
know. So I asked the woman at the counter, I was like, what is in that scorpion cheese? And she's like, I don't know. And then some guy behind us, he's like, oh, scorpion peppers. Like, is that a thing? A
Wow.
scorpion pepper? What is that?
I've never heard of that.
Anyway, I checked the chart of peppers because I don't know. I don't know anything. I know jalapeno. I know
Yeah.
habanero. I'm like, aren't they those like the hot peppers? Like, no, they're at the bottom of the list. You go
Oh,
all the way up. Number 2 was scorpion peppers.
wow.
I was like, oh my God, just from this one tiny little cube. That was ridiculous. I think it threw my stomach off for days. Because I had some stomach problems after that. I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, oh, maybe it was that pepper.
Wow.
Hmm.
That messed you up. All right, where's this photo? You're supposed to be sending me a photo.
I sent it to you
Did you?
on the Twitter.
On the Twitter. In the messages?
Oh, maybe it's on the X. Check the X.
Okay, I'll check X. Nope, I don't. I still don't have anything.
Really?
Would I lie to you?
I sent it to you in just the regular public photo
Like
thing.
in the messages, right?
No, not in the messages. Just a Twitter tweeted you.
Oh,
I X'd you.
Oh, you did it. You did it public. Oh, look at this. Oh, now I'm jealous. All right, now the show's definitely over. We can't go on like this. How dare you? How dare you? Let's see if I could share this.
I wanted to send more, but I didn't have a lot of time.
Oh, they don't have the. They only have the share screen. Oh, select the tab to share. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Everyone is watching.
There you go.
Well, there she is. The old 8 hook and ladder from the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 and probably the newer Ghostbusters movies. But that's cool.
Probably,
I love how
right?
Hey?
Well, that's why I'm wondering why the ghost sign is there. So I'm guessing maybe they used because they took that down, but maybe because they're making those new movies now, they put it back up.
It's been up there for a while, for the last few years.
Okay.
I don't know if it has to do with the movies. Like a lot of people go there to get their photo taken, right? With it.
Well, that too. It's just a big touristy thing because if you look it up on Google Maps, it just says Ghostbusters headquarters.
Oh, really? It's not the.
Yeah.
It's not is it a functioning fire hall still?
It is a functioning firehouse. Yeah. So it's got to be extremely annoying for them. Yeah, there's constantly people out there because it was pretty consistent. You know, there's not a huge group of people, but like every couple of minutes, there's somebody coming by and just like take a picture, them with the shirt, whatever. But it was cool. It was really, really close from where I used to live, and I just never been there before. So
wow,
took the ferry over.
It's really close to where you used to live. So didn't Egon say it was a demilitarized zone? Is that what you lived in?
Well, the actual location, it feels a lot more cramped than you expect just from the way they shot it because the street it's on is very small. It feels very tight. Because in the film you see the Ecto one come out and then it hangs a left and then goes around the building.
Yeah.
If you go the other way, it almost feels like a dead end. It just feels like really, really tight and small there.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, the interiors were done in another building in LA. It's another.
And you can totally tell because when you're outside, it doesn't look like a very large building. And if you try to imagine, like Ray and they're working on the Ecto and Sigourney Weaver walking around her, it's like
there wouldn't be enough room.
It feels like there wouldn't be nowhere near as much room. There's another sign around the side. There's a little sign in the window, Ghostbuster sign, and there's a couple of graphics on the ground, like the ghost with a fire hat on, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's cool. It was neat to go by.
Yeah, I'm
Touched it,
totally jealous.
scratched it, got
Yeah.
it under my fingernails.
I'm totally jealous. That'd be the first place I'd go in New York, and then I'd probably leave. I'd be like, okay, that's enough. Well, maybe I go see a baseball game, but maybe I don't know. See Yankees.
Well, I wanted to do the full tour. I wanted to go around and go to the library and see the Lions. I wanted to go to see Dana Barrett's apartment building, stuff like that, which I have seen in the past, but I don't have any photos of those.
That's not a real building, though, is it? The
building is real, but they added like a couple of layers. Okay. Yeah, they did like some optical matted something in.
Right.
Yeah, that was cool. It was neat to go over and see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
Okay. Well, I got one more thing. If we want to bring it back to video games.
Sure, why not?
I mentioned this during the last episode that I was playing the X-Men Legends games. I'm up to the second one now. I still like the first one better. A lot of improvements in terms of gameplay in the second one.
Yeah.
In terms of story and presentation and environments, I really like the first one better. Too much green in the second one. Like you're in a lot of jungles. It's like, it's okay. I don't know. But anyway, I had mentioned that the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game, there was like a big modding community, and I was kind of watching a whole bunch of videos on that. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to try and mod it, and I want to put like Cyclops in his classic blue and yellow outfit, not that stupid Ultimate costume that they have in those things. I want to have Storm with like the white and the wings and everything like that. I don't know, play through. It's going to be fun. So I started doing that procedure. I went to this site called marvelmods.com. They got a bunch of YouTube videos. They got written tutorials. They've got a Discord where you can go and ask questions and things. And I did it. I did it. I worked through the process.
I'm impressed.
It was a bunch of headaches because if you go to the video, they'll tell you, okay, this stuff's useful, but it's a little out of date. You go to the tutorial, they're like, oh, this part's under construction. So, and there's like two different paths you can take. They have this software that kind of helps you with modding. It's called Mod Organizer 2. They recommend you to download that and use it. Or you can just directly drop all the stuff into the game file folders and do all that. I was like, I can't figure this out. I follow it this far, everything's working, and then I hit a wall. Something's not wrong. Something's not right. It's like, okay, go on the Discord, ask some questions, which to their credit, it's a very active Discord, and the people behind the whole thing, there's usually someone in there who every day that I put a question in, it was just a matter of like an hour or two before I got a response. It was very nice. So somewhere between the videos, the tutorial, and the Discord, I was able to get all the information I needed, put it all together, got the game in, did this thing where you can expand your roster. So you can get all of the characters that are normally in the game. You can just have them unlocked from the beginning. Then you can do this thing where you could get all of the characters from the previous X-Men Legends games that were removed from the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game. You can have all them in there. You can start putting in completely modded characters that were never in the game. So I was able to add like War Machine and She-Hulk and Falcon and like a whole bunch of other characters. Some of them are game breaking where they're just way too powerful. But there's also an issue with the game where it's a little unbalanced to begin with. I remember that from initial playthroughs where sometimes you're having a good time and then it just like you get to a point where there's a really powerful enemy and it just feels like it's a little off balance. There's another mod I put in that's an extended game where they take levels from the X-Men Legends games and put them into the main game of the Marvel game.
That's cool.
Or or like the simulator missions, the danger room scenarios, they get worked into the storyline too. So there's all these little extra things you can do. So I threw in a bunch of characters and I threw in a bunch of boosters to give them, more power, and put in different skins so that they would look the way I want them to. They've got all these skins so you can make them look like their MCU counterparts. So my Black Widow looks like Scarlett Johansson and stuff
Oh,
like
nice.
that. When Tony Stark is in the game, he's got Robert Downey Jr.'s face and stuff like that. So I was messing around with a whole bunch of those. It was like, this is fun, but does it actually work? So I figured I have to actually play the game beginning to end to make sure it works. And it did. I finished it yesterday.
Oh,
It all
nice.
works. There's some points where it feels like maybe I don't need all these modifications. Sometimes they're a little unnecessary or off balance. But for the most part, it's super fun. And I'm going to go back in and add more characters and adjust my roster to how I like it. And then maybe I'll get crazy and put in Freddy Krueger or the Ghostbusters are
Oh, that's
available for that
cool.
game as well.
Oh,
I
nice.
did mess around with them a little bit. Unfortunately, you get all 4 Ghostbusters, but they all have the exact same move set
Mm.
and same animations, but they do have their faces and they lift the voice samples from the Ghostbusters video game. They
Nice.
just didn't play. They didn't play very well, so
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, it's people doing it for free, right? Just doing it for kicks. So
Yeah, it's I definitely give them props because there's a couple of main people that are listed on the website of like the core people
yeah,
behind this, and one of them, I don't remember the screen name, was the person who kept helping me in the Discord. So good for them. They keep on top of these things.
nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. I really
It
should
was
get it back.
fun, and I did have trouble with it early on, so I was going to ask you if you could do it and then explain it to me what I was doing wrong. But then I figured I'd go to the Discord and see what I can figure out there, and somehow got all of the answers I needed.
I'm glad you figured it out. It
Well,
didn't
if
have to
anyone
get
is
me to do
interested,
it.
I can direct you to the best skins for Cyclops and Storm because they look awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't done anything like that in a very long time. Like I was talking before we went on the break, the flat out games just got
Yeah.
the mods and that, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm still waiting for some good mods to pop up. The community's a little slow to react. It's all just so far. It's just bringing in those Need for Speed Underground game cars and
Yeah.
different soundtracks. So, but I still am having fun. I still played. I'm playing through Flat Out 2 on the Steam Deck. I'm playing through Flat Out Ultimate Destruction on the PC because I just want to play it that way. And it's good times.
Sure.
Sauce here mentions that he says Kevin, New York has 2 baseball teams. Yes, I am aware of the Mets, but they're all the way down in Queens. Who wants to go all the way down there? That's too far away. Going to Manhattan, and the Bronx is just like they're technically in the Bronx, but they're just on the other side of the river there. So they're very close to Manhattan. Anyways, geez, what do I want to talk about?
I don't know.
I don't know. I watched a lot of movies. I know people give me heck because I talk about bad movies. I don't talk about. Yeah, I know. Either way,
Well,
you're
I
taking.
got some bad movies I could talk about.
What do you got?
Actually, I need a ruling on this for the NSSABC challenge.
Okay.
I have been very, very sluggish on movies because I've just been going through the Twilight Zone. But on the airplane, I did watch a few things, which I really don't like watching movies that I'm interested in on the airplane because it's a terrible experience. I want to be able to sit back and enjoy it. But I did watch the Wonka movie that came out like a year ago or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was not very good.
Didn't look very good.
Yeah. But I skipped it on the way there. I got to my family, my sister said she had seen it because we're big fans of the original
Mhm.
Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, and we can't ever get together without not mentioning it. We're constantly quoting it and everything. So she had seen this new one. It wasn't very good. So on the way back, I was like, all right, if it's terrible, I'm sitting on this plane for so long, might as well just stare at something. And it wasn't very good.
Mm.
It was too long. Characters are too nice. Um, there are a lot of things that just you wonder why are you doing this thing? For example, Willy Wonka is stuck in this boarding house because he got tricked into a contract and he can't leave until he pays off this huge debt. But every day they sneak out. It's like, why do you keep going back? Why don't you go somewhere else? Why do you keep going back to the place that's like a prison when you're able to leave there every day? Doesn't make any sense.
Because movie, that's why.
Yeah. I don't know. It just I've noticed this a lot with especially family movies like this. Characters are just too nice. Like they just never seem to have a another part of themselves. They're always making the right decision. This was a problem with the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka remake, where the kid they got to play Charlie, he's just always being a good kid. And
Mhm.
I know that's the point of like you're the good kid and that's why you win at the end, but he's like angelically nice.
Mm.
The original Charlie, he's got that desire, like I want that chocolate. He's got that childish greed.
Mhm.
And he when he gets the money out of the drain and he can go buy a bar of chocolate, he just eats the thing. Like when he's in the candy shop.
Right.
It's like, yeah, like I'm selfish. I have that little part of me where there's a danger I might be like those other kids.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah.
could fall down that path.
Right. Right.
But then he gets another one. He's like, I'm gonna get this from a Grandpa Joe. And then he finds out there's another gold ticket. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna selfishly open this right now. And then they steal the fizzy lifting drinks. And you know, he does bad things. But at his core, he's still a good kid. He can
Right.
like say, you know what, I'm going to resist that. Everyone else in these movies, they're just constantly nice. If they ever do anything wrong, it's because someone forces them to. They're not likable characters. I don't like it.
Hmm.
Didn't like it. Not good.
That's a big thumbs down
Big
on.
thumbs down. Also, the thing of Willy Wonka, you go to the factory and it's like, wow, he has all this crazy weird stuff. We had no idea. In this movie, he was just out in public doing all these like magic tricks and having people fly around. It's like, why wouldn't you buy his chocolate? Why is he not a success? You know, he's doing all these amazing things right in front of everybody,
Uh,
but somehow he can't get his company started. It's like,
I,
uh,
I've said this before. I think these remakes that they're all done by committee. It's all just a committee that
oh
all
yeah,
makes the decisions. It's not a vision from one person. And I know that that doesn't always work as well. It's not a perfect formula, but I think that's why we get the same kind of movies over and over again. It's because it's the same committees with the same ideals that are just making the same movies over and over again,
yeah,
and they're watered down. Like no one's willing to risk. They got so much money on the line, you know.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, it's funny that you are reading a Star Trek book because I have been plucking away at the Star Trek books as well. As you know, I've
Mm.
been collecting them and I've actually been reading them. So far, out of the how many have I read now? I've read 8. So far, out of the 8 that I've read, I would recommend one. Well,
Okay.
okay, I'll recommend 2. The very first Star Trek novel is the novelization of the first film by Gene Roddenberry, and I think I've talked about this on the show before. It's a really
Mhm.
good read if you're into the character Captain Kirk because it expands on a lot that the film only touched on. And then the second book that was written, it was called The Entropy Effect. It was written by Vonda and McIntyre, and she wrote a really good Spock. It was more of a novel about Spock going back in time and fixing some mistakes and stuff that were made by the crew and that, and it kind of gets into like a little timey-wimey stuff. But it was really an interesting read. It doesn't really make sense at times, but it's still a fun read.
How can you make Star Trek more boring? Read a Star Trek book.
I'm telling you. Now I'd say from let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. They all sucked. They were just like terrible. Like a lot of these guys, the writers that they got, they're like scientists sometimes, and they have like these like great ideas. Like this one was the idea was good. It was like this planet was stuck in like this nebula type of thing. It's a planet in the middle of a nebula. It's just a planet, and I don't know if there was a sun or something like that. They got energy from something, but it was a Class M planet. And I guess it was their solar system that was surrounded by this nebula. They couldn't see past their solar system. So they never developed any sort of space travel because they don't know that there's anything past it. They just think that that's all there is. And so they had all this crazy technology on their planet. Like they had like crazy transporting technology where they could transport anywhere on the planet on an instant, in an instant. But, they just never got off the planet. Anyways, the Enterprise gets stuck there because they were exploring space and they ran into some turbulence in that, and their dilithium crystals are toast. So this planet has dilithium on it, and they can re-energize the Enterprise. They can gas it up and get out of there. That's the only way they're going to get home. If they go home on impulse power alone, it's going to take them like 200 years or whatever. So they need the warp. They need the warp speed. They can't contact Starfleet to come get them either because there was some interference that got them there.
Is this where they got Voyager from?
So that might have been. So they but they're on. So they find this planet, and then there's the ethical dilemma of whether or not they're actually sophisticated enough that the Enterprise can reach out to them, because it kept saying General Order 1, because I think the original series had a few episodes where they didn't really say Prime Directive. They said General Order 1.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was like, does this violate the Prime Directive if we ask them for help and all that? Then the book just kind of gets into the minutia of the political structure on the planet, and it just dragged. Like the book was 160 pages long, and it took me like 3 weeks to read it because it was just so boring. Like it started off really good with this concept and that, and then it just, and plus the guy, I guess he was a big, like he wrote the Star Trek book, but his other works that he's known for are political books about libertarianism. There's like the libertarian. He was a libertarian, anyways. He was more famous in the libertarian area, and so he brought a lot of those ideals into the book, which really didn't jive too well with the whole socialism part of Star Trek. Even in the 60s series, like they were very, it was socialism. Nobody had a job. Everyone just kind of did because it was fun. And everybody was fed because they had replicators and all that stuff.
Well, they did still have money during the original series. There are references to like a job, a pay. Yeah, it doesn't come up a lot. It's really Next Generation where they
doubled
did away
down
with
on
currency.
It. Yeah, they doubled down on it in the Next Generation. But still, poverty was taken care of, at least on Earth, right? Not in all of the Federation.
Right.
And yeah, the whole money thing has always been a little bit of a wishy-washy gray area. Anyways, still the libertarianism thing, like it didn't. It's hard to explain because I don't know if I followed all of it because it was so boring in the book. I was just trying to get through it. And Sarah was just like, "Why are you still reading that thing if you hate it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just going down with the ship." I had to find out for myself what was happening. Anyways, a lot of the books are like that. They're like they have like these ideas and concept, but they really forget about making them entertaining or whatever. But right now, the book that I'm on the novelization of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
And this is written by Vonda N. McIntyre, the one who wrote the second book about Spock doing the whole time travel stuff. And I guess she did such a good job with that book that they decided to give her the novelization of Star Trek II. And it's kind of interesting. I didn't know this, but apparently, so I don't know when. Like a lot of times when they get these novelization contracts and that the completed script isn't fine. Like the script isn't finalized yet, right? They're gonna get like rough drafts and stuff because stuff gets changed on the edit room floor. Stuff gets changed while they're shooting or whatever. So I'm not sure how much of that, how much was in the original script and how much she had changed or whatever. But the big thing that's revealed on the very first few pages is that Saavik, the young Vulcan that Spock takes under his wing, that's played by Kirstie Alley and Robin Curtis in the later films, that she is in the film she's presented as a full Vulcan, but in this novel she's a half Romulan.
Yeah.
Was that said in the film?
No,
Okay,
but I have heard that
okay.
Which is why she cries later on in the film, and why she has those kind of outbursts of, like, when she's in the simulator training, she gets a little emotional when the Klingon ships are coming.
Right. Well, and it's also why the reasoning why Spock chose her to take under his wing, because he is half human and knows how hard it is trying to be a Vulcan when you're half something else. And so that's kind of why that they had that relationship. She's also in the book. I'm not finished it yet, but it seems like she's going to hook up with Kirk's son there, David.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know. It seems like they're getting very close. And the book is very like you remember that the one young engineering cadet that Scotty kind of takes a liking to in the film. Like in the original cut of the film, he's in it very briefly. Like Kirk meets him when he's doing the inspection.
Oh yeah. It's like Scotty's nephew.
How do you know all this stuff? I didn't know that was his nephew.
Because I've read these things. Yeah,
oh, you read
something that.
So you read this book?
Well, I've read. No, I've not read that book, but I've read trivia about the film. And yes, that's like in the film. You wonder, why would Scotty carry him up to the bridge?
Right.
He did.
And not take him to sickbay.
Right. Yeah. Why would he single him out and stuff like that?
Right.
It was just supposed to be that was his nephew, and there was a reasoning. I guess it was cut out for time or whatever.
There are more scenes with him in there is a different cut of Star Trek 2 that has a few more expanded scenes, and he has more scenes in it, but still not revealed that he is Scotty's nephew. But in the book, they're like going at it, cat and dogs. Like they hate each other. They're arguing and the whole bit. And he didn't want the nephew didn't want anyone to know that he was Scotty's nephew because he didn't want any preferential treatment. And then Scotty let it slip that it happened, and then all this stuff. But anyways, it was interesting to read how, like, I've never really been into the novelizations or anything like that. I enjoyed the first one because it was written by Gene Roddenberry, but this one's written by another author. But it was still interesting how she was able to weave in exposition and not really interfere with the story. Like she was able to expand on some things and all that. And I know I have said in the past, I don't like that. Like, I don't like extra cuts of film where they start expanding things, or go in another movie. Let's put out a prequel where they expand on things. I don't really know it for the film, but this is a different format, right? This is a different. It works in a novel, I think more. It works better in a novel for me, anyways. Like if I had to sit and watch all this stuff on a screen, I'd be bored to tears. But reading it, it's more interesting to me. Anyways,
I
bad
remember
fad.
having that happen with when I read the novelization of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film.
Yes, yeah.
Because there was a scene at the end of the book that wasn't in the movie where April is talking to her boss about everything that happened, and the turtles are all outside the window with suction cups, like listening in. That wasn't in the movie. How come that wasn't in the movie? It's in this book.
When I was a kid, I used to get the novelizations for movies because they were easy to, like, I would see the trailers on TV. So they're like visualizing the characters, and that was easier.
Yeah, sure.
And two, I didn't have access to the movies. So this was a way that I could kind of watch Dick Tracy without ever seeing Dick Tracy. I still haven't seen that. No, yeah. I still haven't.
It's good.
Okay.
It's very visual.
So that's it for my reading. I really do need to start expanding, get off the Star Trek books, but just what I've been on lately. Okay, movie-wise. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, I watched The Towering Inferno, a movie that you had recommended, and Sarah and I watched it, and yeah, it's quite an exciting film. It is a little dated. A lot of the decor in this Towering Inferno.
Oh, yeah. That stuff should burn.
Hurt my eyes. Like a carpet. Like the most like outrageous thing was the stucco on the walls, like right down to the floor. Because you get like one vacuum cleaner that bumps into that stucco, it is cracked and there's nothing you can do about it. So that bothered me a little. But yeah, it's really one of the big Hollywood 70s productions. I love the way. So the movie, like it's like it takes place in the building at first and all that, and the firefighters come in later as the fire starts and that. And I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, because where's Steve McQueen? Where? Like I'm waiting for him. He's one of my favorite guys. Where is he? And then when the fire breaks out and the fire trucks all come, and then you see this fire chief in this, like it was just like what are those called? It was just like a regular car from the 70s, and you see him peeling in and slamming on the brakes coming in. I'm like, oh, that's Steve McQueen. And then he comes out.
He doesn't show up until it feels like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then when he gets there, he takes over, But by then you've got all of your different characters and all their different places, so you can follow what's going on with the architect or the fire chief or OJ Simpson or whoever else.
OJ, that was a surprise to see OJ in there. I didn't realize OJ was there, but yeah.
It was a really fun movie. You know who else is in there? I forget the actor's name, but he was in I know him mostly from the RoboCop films. He was the other business guy with Kenny.
The black guy.
He's one of the firefighters, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. I did pick up on that. I did watch Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe.
Where did you watch that?
It's on my Jellyfin server.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So if you're interested, I could hook you up. You got to download a couple of programs.
I am interested because I've still been unable to find a physical copy anywhere, and I don't have whatever Paramount Plus or whatever it's on.
Well, I will say that the film is very much a 2-hour, 90-minute pilot for the TV series. They are setting up the TV series.
Has that started yet?
Yeah, it's in like season 2 or 3 already. The movie came out in 2021.
It's been a couple of years now.
2022, yeah. So yeah, it's been out for a while. And I think they finished season 2. So I do want to watch the television series, but Sarah's not interested in it. So it's right now I'm watching.
I would like them to put it on some sort of physical media.
That would be nice. But yeah, for right now, it's on my Jellyfin if you're interested. But yeah, like right now I'm watching Rick and Morty. I finally started that series. I'm on season 3 right now. Sarah hated it after like one episode. She's like, I'm out of here. So I'm guessing it's more of a dude's show. I don't know. I know, no offense to any ladies that enjoy Rick and Morty, but it's very. I'm liking the science fiction part of it more than the humor, if that makes any sense. It's really a wacky show. Basically, Rick is this scientist who lives with his daughter's family, and they go on adventures. Sauce does not like Rick and Morty. I'm kind of surprised about that. I thought you would be into that, but maybe it's too science fiction-y for him. Anyways, they go on these adventures. He's really has no scruples. Like he just kind of does what he wants. Like he's the grandpa and he takes his grandson out on these adventures. They're kind of like a little bit of Back to the Future vibe, where the old guy's Doc Brown and Morty's Marty. But that's the similarities end there. He just kind of, it's kind of hard to explain the show. It's just kind of out there, wacky humor, and I do find it funny. I do find myself laughing out loud once in a while. But I really like the science fiction, the whole. I'm not big on alternate universes and all that, but it kind of works in this show because they're kind of Rick and Morty kind of like are grounded, and then the rest of the craziness kind of happens around them. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it. Getting back to my movies here, I watched the Blackberry movie. That's a movie with one of the guys from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I can't remember the other actor, but it was kind of a cool movie to watch because it takes place in Waterloo, Ontario, which I just drove through a couple of months ago on my way to London, Ontario. But yeah, that's where Blackberry was born, and it was a little. I enjoyed the film. I think they definitely took a little bit of poetic license to wrap things up. Like they made it sound like it's the moment that the iPhone was announced, BlackBerry was done. Where I remember there was like at least a couple of years where there was some back and forth. Like people really did like the virtual keyboard and all that. People weren't really sure if they were going to be able to grasp that. A lot of people were hanging on to the physical keyboard. And then the encryption thing too. I remember at work, they held on to BlackBerries for a long time because iPhone couldn't encrypt company emails as well as the BlackBerry could. So a lot of people had BlackBerries, I remember, for years after the iPhone had come out. And it was more of a slow transition from what I remembered. And that's right. Yes, Derek Deej 13. He did work there. I actually know a few people who had worked there. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I'm not really big on those kind of movies a lot of times because I find that they're just, I don't know. This was interesting. A lot of the, they did keep in a lot of the technical stuff and technobabble and stuff like that. So I found that part interesting. So I liked it. You'll like this. I watched that Fantastic Four movie that came out in 2015.
Oh, that sucked.
Oh, you hated it. All right, but you watched it though, right? You watched that. Right.
I have been going through a purge in my physical media, and I kept it despite the fact that I don't like it.
Why would you have kept it?
Because I've been doing a lot of condensing in my collection where I bought a lot of rentals from a place that's shut down. So it takes up a lot of space. And I've realized, okay, I need to just save space. So I bought a bunch of cases that, back in the day, it was like you got one DVD case, one disc. Maybe you got the 2 disc in there. Now they shove like 5-6 discs in one little clamshell.
Yep.
So I bought a bunch of different like 3, 4, 6 holders, and I had
kind of like Fantastic 20 movies with all the
stuff like that. So I had the 2 Fantastic Four movies that were released around the Spider-Man X-Men times.
The Michael Chiklis ones.
Yes. and I had that other one. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take the first Fantastic Four slipcase insert, put 3 discs in one thing, put it on the shelf. If I ever want to watch them, I have them. They don't take up a lot of space.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of that. I really don't like tossing movies, even if I'm not a big fan of them, because if there's ever a reason why I want to go back and figure out why I didn't like it or what was wrong with it, I can then access it.
Yeah, well, that's why I write everything down on Letterboxd because I could not remember, and I don't have to rewatch the film. I could just look
Okay.
back at my notes. So my notes for the Fantastic Four is, and it's coming back to me because I did watch it about a month ago, and I already forgot about it. But I look at my notes, and I'm reminded that the big problem with the movie is that it's a Fantastic Four movie. And the Fantastic Four are all grumpy and fighting with each other. They're not working together as a team. And that is
Right.
what you want when you have a, a series of action hero characters. You got like a bunch of them, and you want to see them all work together to defeat the bad guys. Watching them all fight each other, that's just boring and cliched. And I don't care because I know that eventually they're going to have to get together to defeat the bad guy. So why are you wasting my time with all of this stuff? Just
Especially
get
the
to it.
Fantastic Four, because they have such a reputation of being the super happy family, superhero team
Yep.
where they all work together and they have their differences. I mean, the thing where like the thing, doesn't fit into regular clothes and he's always like uncomfortable in his own body and stuff like that. And Johnny Storm kind of like messes with them a lot. They have that petty bickering, but at the core they get along.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't have any conflict. Of
Right.
course they have, but there's 4 of them and they all don't like each other and they're all fighting and like they're not, and it's all just stupidness. Like it's not
Yeah.
when they're first caught and they just got their powers and the powers that be, the government is basically locking them all down, right? And Reed Richards finds a way to escape, and the thing is like, hey, where are you going? Don't leave me here. And it's like, what is it to turn him and say, look, I'm going to find a way to get us all out of here. I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to come back. I'm not going to abandon you. He had time to say that. Nope. Because instead, say nothing, and now the thing hates you, and just give me a break. I did a little dive on the backstory of the movie because the movie felt very disjointed to me as well,
Oh yeah.
especially the Invisible Woman's hair. It was driving
Yes.
me
Yes.
bananas. I was watching it, and sometimes it would be the actress's hair, and then other times they just put this really bad wig on her. It was like they didn't even try.
It's basically, it's not a far stretch to say it reminds you of when like a cartoon character would put a mop on their head as a wig.
Well, there's that.
It looked so bad.
God, is it Samurai Cop or there's that one movie where it
Samurai
was,
Cop's the one where it falls
yeah,
off. Yeah.
the guy has the big
The baseball
hair,
cap. Yeah.
and then he cuts his hair, and then when they go to reshoot the movie, they're like, let's just put this terrible wig on your head, and it falls
Yeah.
off at one point and all that. It reminded me very much of that. So that had me going to like, what went on here? I have to know a little bit of this backstory. And yeah, apparently there was a lot of trouble while they made the movie. I think they switched directors. The original
The
director wanted,
Josh Trank, I believe it was.
yes,
He, from what I remember, his vision was a bit dark. And when the studio saw it, they said, "No, you got to lighten this up a bit. You got to."
right.
So they
And
did a lot of reshoots, and hence the
yes,
wig.
yes, and you can totally tell because anytime there's like a jokey Josh Whedon-y moment in the film, she's got that stupid wig on. So yeah, not a good film.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's like people. I don't know, that tendency to like, we want to go dark. We want to take all these happy comic book things that are silly and goofy and make
Yeah.
them depressing and dark.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I wonder if there was. I think part of it had to do with the Avengers and them wanting to not make another Avengers film, make it something like the anti-Avengers film or something like that, like the Yin and the Yang or something. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't work. It's so crazy how they have these IPs that everything's baked in. You don't have to come up with like characters. You don't have to think of what they look like or anything like that. All that work is done for you. So all you have to do now is just flip through the comics and find a good story. That's all the good comic book
Yeah,
movies
but
do
a lot
that.
of the filmmakers, the directors, they have too much ego, and
Yeah.
they don't want to say, well, if people criticize it, well, you didn't do anything. All you did was take the comic book and everything was there for you. He's like, no, 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 I've got my own vision. I'm
That's
gonna do it
that's
like
that's
this.
that is such BS because that's exactly what Sam Raimi did. Like he flipped through the book. Oh, with great power comes great responsibility. That's going to be the thing, in the
Mhm.
that's what he would do, and it was great. Now the third movie I know kind of went off the rails there, but there was a lot of studio interference in that,
Sure.
so I can't blame Sam for everything on that one. Okay, I got to start skipping. I because there's a lot of things here. I'll just mention Midsummer. I finally watched that. That is a movie that
Mhm.
I've heard Duke complain about for I don't know the last few years. He said it was a terrible film. I watched it, and I gotta say, I agree with him 100%. I gave it a half a star. It was terrible. It's one of those horror films that is all just style. Like it looks nice.
Mhm.
It looks really pretty. The cinematography is great. All the characters in the movie though are so dumb. Like they're just like they go to this uh basically it's kind of like being in a cult kind of thing that's off the side or whatever. They're there for like some sort of one of them is trying to do a thesis on this cult because he's in college and you got to do a thesis on something. So he brings his friends along to this thing, and right away, like things are just off, like things are just weird. But they don't leave; they just kind of hang around. They just like, and it's like, look, as soon as like one person like jumps off a cliff and kills himself, and everyone reacts like as if it's normal, I'd be like, I'm out of here. I'm back, and like I'm done. No, we just hang around. We argue about who's going to do the thesis. We argue about this. We
Mhm.
argue about that. It's just awful, awful movie. So Duke, you were 100% right about that one. I
It
watched the
just reminded
cool.
me of there's a little behind the scenes thing on Jaws. It's Steven Spielberg's talking about, the locations and everything. And it's talking about the part where they're out on the boat. He's like, I had to find a place where there was just like open water and you couldn't see any land, but it had to be, it had to be very shallow so we could do all the
Yep.
rigging of the shark and everything. But there couldn't be any islands or any land anywhere. Otherwise, people watching the movie would just say, why don't you go to that land over there?
Right.
And that sticks in my head every time I watch a movie and something doesn't make sense. It's like, why don't you just do this? Why
Right.
don't you just do that? It's
At, le-
like
at
there's
least
the
try.
logic right
Yeah.
there.
At
Yeah.
least try. A try. They like try to get out of it. No, we're just gonna act like everything's normal. It made me
Yeah.
mental. Okay, so after that, I had to cleanse my palate. And my friends who love Midsummer hated the fact that I said that this movie was so much better than Midsummer. I would say I would watch this movie on a loop rather than having to watch Midsummer one more time.
Was it Dead Heat with Joe Piscopo?
It was close to that quality. I watched
Okay.
a film called Silent Rage, starring your favorite actor, Chuck Norris. You've never heard of this
Silent
movie.
Rage.
Yeah, you've
I
never
think
heard
I
of this
have
movie.
heard of that.
How
Hang
do
on.
you? Well, it was in my 20 movie collection, action film collection, and this movie is like out there, man.
Do I
So
have this? I think I
this,
have this.
do you? Maybe okay. If you have it and you want to watch and you want to watch it, we could talk about it because you will. It might be on my Jellyfin server too. I might have downloaded it.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Forced Vengeance.
No, this is not Forced Vengeance. This is
Okay.
Silent Rage. It came out in 1982. It's a wacky premise, man. So this guy shoots up his family. It starts off like on a dark note. He just kind of shoots up his family. He's all crazy and everything. The cops come in, they arrest him and all that, and then Chuck Norris, he gets away from the cops. Chuck Norris comes in and ends up shooting and killing him. They bring the body into the morgue. There's a mad scientist that's in the morgue, and he's got this experiment that he's been dying to try to bring back a dead body back to life.
Okay.
So that's exactly what he does. And now Chuck Norris, mild-mannered Chuck Norris, has to fight a psychotic zombie.
That sounds awesome. I want to watch that.
I gave it 2.5 stars. That's how good it was. And the best character in the movie is a Chevy Blazer. There's this beautiful Chevy Blazer in it. You'll see it and you'll be like, oh my goodness, why can't they make cars like that? But yeah, it's something else. I think it's on my Plex or my. I don't have Plex. I got Jellyfin. I think it's on my Jellyfin. So
yeah, you get all right. I request access. Where do I get my golden ticket to the Jellyfin?
So that was good times. I watched that Long Legs movie, that new one that came out. That's that newer Nicolas Cage movie. It was sold to me as like it was supposed to be another Silence of the Lambs psychological thriller, but it's not. I don't know. I didn't like it. It's not my kind of film. They tied in a lot of mysticism and everything into what's going on. I don't want to spoil it for people. Like, it's a new movie, so. But I didn't like that part of the film. I rewatched Marathon Man. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think so.
Hoffman. It's one of those movies that overall it's an okay thriller, but it has very memorable moments in it. Stuff in it that's like, oh man, that's some good times. Difficult to go to the dentist after seeing that movie. I finally watched Last Action Hero. That's on the the 20th, and I gave it 1 star.
That's about right. Yeah,
I love the concept. I thought the whole idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger in this, like the film Arnold Schwarzenegger coming into our reality and all that, there could be a lot of fun had there. I wish they came up with a better idea than the magic ticket. I would have loved to have seen what like Paul Verhoeven or Joe Dante would have done with the concept. I think they would have had a lot of fun with it. John McTiernan is a great director, but I just don't think the material was for him. And it's one of those movies where you could tell they had like, we can get this actor, we can get this person, we can get this, we can do this, we can like, and they just kind of try to cram all these ideas and everything together. And at the end of the day, I don't know, it didn't really work for me.
The story, like the kid was obnoxious.
Yeah, the kid didn't work. Yeah.
The whole story, the guy with the eye, and I don't even know what his plan was, but it's just cliche villain. Yeah,
that's a part that didn't make sense to me, was that so the idea was that Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he gets sucked into our world. He's the kid gets sucked into the movie at first, and in this movie, like, he's a superhero, like all the movie cliches, like if he gets shot, it doesn't really hurt him because he's a movie star. But when he comes into our world, when he's stuck into he is vulnerable like any human being, right? And even the bad guys, they come into our world and they realize that they can do things, and they're not immediately there's a comeuppance isn't immediately thrown upon them for doing wrong things. They got time to do more bad things and all that. The part of the film that didn't, and I was following along with that and everything, and then at some point a magic ticket gets ripped or whatever, or it ends up in a movie theater where they're showing like this old, I don't know, Fellini film or something like that, and Death is in the movie, and Death, the guy with the sickle and the hood and everything, he comes into our world, into reality, and he starts walking around, and somehow he knows that he has to go find the kid, and because the kid was on his list, but Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't on his list. I don't know. None of that stuff made sense. But the part that didn't make sense to me at all He's walking along the street, and then he touches a guy that's coughing, right? The guy's smoking and
Mhm.
he's coughing, so he touches him and he starts walking away. I'm like, oh, his powers are not going to work. He's in our world, right? So he touches
Mhm.
him, and then he keeps walking, and then the guy dies. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
true. That's
I
very true.
thought when they came into our world, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're going to explain that or whatever. They never explain it. And Death in the movie, he doesn't like. Why is he in there? Like, what was the whole point of that? I
It's yeah. That movie could have used a rewrite. It's a fun idea, and if a lot of more of the movie were about Schwarzenegger has to, stop the bad guy, but they routinely like go back and forth between realities
yeah,
to
yeah,
take
yeah,
advantage of certain situations, get rid of the kid,
yeah,
speed it up a little bit.
yeah.
There could have been fun there.
Yeah, like even like the one part I thought was fun was when the kid was like I think he was being chased by the bad guys or something like that. And he was like, "Oh, they can't kill me because I'm a kid in a movie. I can't die." And then he's like, "Wait a minute, I'm actually the comic relief. I could totally die
Yeah.
in this film." So I thought, like, okay, that's your concept there. That's what you need to play into more than whatever it is that they were trying to do. I don't know. Okay, we're running along here, so I'm just going to. Well, I said I was going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan in the description, so I better talk about him. So I started on a journey of watching all the M. Night Shyamalan movies, and I got up to Unbreakable sometime last year, and I didn't
Isn't that
really
the
care.
second one?
Yeah, I didn't really care for it, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of done. But then, like, I've been hearing like a lot of these newer films have been, uh, they kind of been reviewed a little more favorably. Like people seem to like the newer ones. So I'm kind of like, okay, I want to go back. I want to rewind, and I want to like uh I need to I need everything, right? I need to see the full picture. I need to go back. So I went all the way back to what's the next film? The Village? No, Signs. I went back to Signs. Uh
I just got a copy of that.
It's the first time I had watched it since it probably first came out, or it came out on video or all that. And I remember not liking it too much. Again, I was coming off The Sixth Sense, and that movie was so well done in that. And Signs is no Sixth Sense. It's not. It is not as great of a movie, but I did enjoy Signs for what it is. It's the whole movie is an allegory about losing faith and
Mhm.
regaining it. And you haven't watched it in a long time. Do you remember a lot about it,
I
or?
remember the big parts. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody wants to watch it. But really, the tentpole moments in the film, like you can nitpick on a lot of the stuff in the film, especially the thing that brings the aliens down doesn't really make too much
Mm.
sense. But that wasn't the point of the film. The point of the film was these characters, and especially Mel Gibson's character. Not a big fan of Mel Gibson lately, but he was really good in the movie, and I definitely see why he chose to chose to do this movie. But yeah, it's about losing faith and regaining his character regaining faith towards the end, which yeah, I thought it was well done for that part of it. So that's the part that I enjoyed.
Yeah, it just I guess the biggest backlash on that is, like you said, the downfall of the aliens. And this is what happens when you take an idea like this, which is essentially a Twilight Zone concept,
Yes.
which works really well when it's like a 22-minute, you know, TV show, especially if it's a low budget. And it's just like, there's the idea, there's the execution, got it. See you next time.
Right.
When you stretch that material out to an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the movie is, then logic starts to seep in. You're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. How about this? What about that? You start thinking too much. A lot of his movies, I do enjoy the concept and the idea of a lot of his movies, but they never seem to hold together for the entirety of the film. That you start to get those moments of, wait a minute.
Well, you're spoiling my take on the very
Sorry.
next M. Night Shyamalan film. No, it's fine. It's all good.
The
So
Village?
I watched The Village next, and that is exactly what my takeaway of The Village was. It felt like it would have been an excellent 30-minute episode of The Twilight Zone that was just stretched out into 2 hours, and then I think Shyamalan got a little too crazy with the twists. Like he wanted to have more than one twist in this film, right?
Right.
And the one big one that didn't sit well with me at all was that there is this character in the movie he's played by Adrian Brody, and he has low IQ. He's really not bright at all. Even the adults all have to talk to him like he's a child because he doesn't really he's not that bright. He's dull. At some point in the film, he does something to someone, and they have to like corner him off into a room. They have to like seal him off into a room because they have other stuff to deal with, and they'll deal with him later. While he's in that room, he discovers something that the adults are doing to the village, and he pieces it all together. And it just didn't make any sense how he would have been able to do that. But I could see what M. Night Shyamalan wanted was that he wanted to keep the viewer on their toes because they're led to believe at some point that what's happening is real, and then it's not real, and then it looks like it's real again, but then you find out later that it might not be real, and so I get what he was trying to do, but it just didn't make any sense. Why make the characters so dull? Not dull and dull, but like dull as in dumb. I'm trying to be PC here. I'm trying to
Right.
Why make him so slow? Like make him a little more quick-witted. I mean, I guess you had to in order to make you feel sorry for the first thing he did, but anyways, it wasn't and here's my other problem with the film is I kind of already knew what the main twist in that movie
I
is.
think everybody did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was spoiled for me at some point, and so I already knew. And then so there was like little things like the tombstones didn't have the correct information on it, and like that doesn't make any sense. Like I can believe some of this, but some of it just doesn't make any sense. Anyways, Village, not that great, but it was still there were still elements of it that I thought was okay. Now we get to
Lady in the Water.
The Lady in the Water.
All right.
I even picked it up on HD DVD.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, look at this. It's a physical copy. And I gotta say now, M. Night Shyamalan, at this point in 2006, he is off the rails. He is his ego is out of control right now with this movie. I think he didn't like a lot of the negative reviews that The Village had got because The Village didn't review very well. And so this movie, all I could say is that he plays he normally has like a little cameo in the movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a really important part, and sometimes it's just like a little part or whatever. It was like his salute to Hitchcock that he gives himself like a little role. In this movie, he gave himself a huge role. And not only is he a huge part of the film in this, his character is a writer whose work is going to change the entire world. Have you ever seen this movie? Have you ever seen?
I saw it once.
Yeah.
And that was the point where I stopped watching Shyamalan movies.
Yeah.
At least I didn't pay attention to them. I don't think I've seen any film after that.
I am positive that I did not finish this movie because at the beginning of the movie felt familiar, and then we got to some point. I'm like, I don't think I finished it the first time I watched it. But yeah, so there's him, and then there's another character that is a film critic in the film, and it looks like he's going to be playing this important part in them figuring out what's going on in this movie. And then it turns out that a lot of his information wasn't correct, and he meets this gruesome demise. because how dare a film critic try to figure out what a writer is trying to say? Like, how dare a film critic put his own interpretation on what a film critic or what a writer is trying to do? That's the message that this movie was trying to say in that part of it. And I'm like, wow, like how wild does your like how full of yourself do you have to be to actually put this out there? It was interesting because it's so different. The story is
Roland
yeah. Go ahead.
Roland Emmerich did the same thing with the late 90s Godzilla movie,
Yeah.
where he had Mayor Ebert and his buddy Gene, and they're doing like the
The
thumbs
thumbs
up and
up.
stuff.
Oh my
He was
goodness.
just like tearing them apart for all the bad reviews that he had gotten.
Yeah, he was trying to be a little more subtle on, like, he didn't use anyone's name per se, but like it's just that. But anyways, the movie is just a big muddled mess. It doesn't make any sense. Bryce Dallas Howard plays this girl. She's in this pool, and it's like an apartment complex that surrounds this pool, and she's stealing trinkets and that people have in this pool. And then Paul Giamatti has to investigate, and then he finds out that she's in trouble, so he brings her into his apartment, and then people are discovering that they can like the writer can write better when she's around and all this. I don't know, it just
I
the
don't
whole
remember a lot of the movie. I remember bits and pieces, but I do like the setting. I do like that
cinematography was great. Yes,
the
setting was.
little
Yep.
apartment complex, and an
Yep.
idea that there's something weird going on, and you've got these people that they're all neighbors. They kind of know each other, but they don't really know each other that well. It was a nice setup for
Yep.
having this kind of little small localized weird event happening.
Yeah, I there was parts of it that I definitely did like. I did like that. I did like the claustrophobic feel of everything. It didn't make sense though. Like when she was in trouble and he took her into his apartment, that's where this like dog creature would try to come after her. And what he's trying to do is take her and bring her off to somewhere back home, apparently. But if she goes back home, the writer won't be able to finish his work and humanity will not change in the good way.
Okay.
So to me, what would make sense is, well, why not just put her back in the pool? Why are you keeping her in the apartment? Just she's a lady in the water. She's okay in there. Just put her back in the pool. Have the writer come to the pool where her powers can do her thing and have him finish his story. I don't
I don't know. I'd have to
it
watch
didn't.
that again.
You really
You
don't.
really stole my thunder because I've been wanting to go back and watch a lot of his movies again because for what you said, they don't always pan out very well, but there's a lot of good ideas in
Yeah,
there.
it's interesting. I find it interesting. Like even though I didn't like this movie, I think it's pretty awful. I found it interesting, and it's interesting too how like he can continuously come out with movies that people like the majority of people don't seem to like. He doesn't have like a small strong fan base, it seems to me, like a Kevin Smith does, that can carry his
Yeah,
movies. Like this.
he's above cult status, but he's low on commercial status.
Right. Like Kevin Smith can, because his movies don't cost that much, right? So he doesn't have that big whereas this movie cost $70 million and it bombed. It did not make its money back. And it's interesting to me how he can continuously have this happen to him, but yet he's still allowed to make another film, and he still gets A-list celebrities in his film. Like Paul Giamatti was great in this movie. His acting was awesome. Everyone else was kind of okay, but he really shone in this movie. His character was very believable. You kind of felt for him a little bit. Like he was really good, but there's just he's in this really weird story that just didn't make any sense.
Side note, I did go see The Holdovers. It came out in a little theater here, and it was excellent.
Yeah, that's my takeaway as well.
Yeah.
I have a lot more movies to talk about, but we're at We're over 2 hours. When was the last time we went over 2 hours?
Oh, we're hitting going back like 5 years now.
Yeah, this is way too long. But it's been a long time since we talked, since we chatted. So
well, I before I forget, I do need an official ruling on my points for watching movies on the airplane.
oh right, yes.
Does that count as streaming? Does that count as something else entirely? I don't care. Whatever points are decided,
You just need the points
tell
to
me
write
so
down.
I can catalog it properly.
Oh, look at this. I think, is this a compliment or a diss? Sauce says that this was a classic Fandango. Is that, you mean that as a good thing or a bad thing? Usually when you put classic in front of something, that means it's good, right?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say it is. Anyways,
A
I'm
large
still
rock-like thing. Johnny flames on like a torch. I've been wondering for the past hour, like, was that actual dialogue from one of the movies? It sounds somewhat familiar. I know that in the first movie there's a scene like that
Oh
where it's
no,
like,
no. You know what?
you know,
I know exactly what he's so they're on one of Norm Macdonald's comedy albums. There was a skit where Norm Macdonald was Reed Richards, and he's coming up with names for everyone in the Fantastic Four.
okay.
Right? So he's like, yeah, Johnny, you can flame, so we're going to call you the Torch, and Susan, you're invisible, so we're going to call you Invisible Woman, and then you're a large rock, so we're going to call you the Thing, and I'm going to be Mr. Fantastic. And then he starts moving on. They're all like, what? Wait, what?
Okay.
Yeah, I got you, Sauce. It's a great skit. Seek it out. It's probably on YouTube.
Okay. We'll do.
Yeah, okay, that's it. I'm still gonna watch M. Night Shyamalan movies. So I think The Happening is next, which is apparently really terrible. I remember trying to watch it, and I got up to the guy talking about hot dogs, and that's where I turned off the film, and that's where I stopped watching M. Night Shyamalan movies. I don't think I've seen one past that.
I'm sure he's continued to make a movie every 2 or 3
every few
years
years
at least.
Yeah.
Because I know that old one was not too
Yes.
long ago.
Yeah.
And there's probably a bunch of things in the middle.
Knock
I don't
at
remember.
the cabin door or something. Knock at the cabin is one of them. He's made a bunch of films. Split in that was tie into. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Anyways, he's made a bunch of films, but I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, he did Split and
Yes.
Mr. Glass.
Just
Split
Glass.
I did see.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
I did see Split, and I like that one.
Okay.
There's a couple of points in there where it's like, what? And you
Right.
feel like this doesn't make sense. But overall, I like that one. And yeah, like you said, the talent and the performances are really good. A lot of times, you got a McAvoy in there. He's really good in that movie. And then Glass is like a follow up to that. I haven't seen that one yet.
Well, that's what I've heard, is that those movies are like these more modern Shyamalan movies are good and worth watching. So that's what I'm working my way towards. Now, I just saw he just put out a movie called Trap, and I saw someone on Facebook. This is I'm quoting someone on Facebook. They said, "The Happening is M. Night Shyamalan's worst movie," and then it quoted Trap, and Trap said, "Hold my beer."
Okay.
So,
Somebody on the internet has an opinion on something.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. So, anyways, that's enough, man. 2 hours 10 minutes, but still, we could go on and on, but
sure.
We have to stop it at some point and save something for another episode. But I'm so glad the hiatus is over, and I'm glad we're back having fun talking about movies and Nazis at Service Ontario. It's just good times.
And Joe Piscopo.
Dead Heat. What's the name of it? Dead Meat?
It's called Dead Heat.
Dead Heat. I'm writing it down. I'm going to put it on my jelly bin.
Absolutely recommend that you watch this with your bad movie night crew, because
okay,
you will have fun.
Okay. I'm willing. I'm intrigued.
Whether you're with the film or against the film, you will have fun.
Okay. Sauce is remembering the days when Fandango would go on for 3 hours. Yeah, and I'd
Yes,
be dead.
and
I was dead
that
the next day.
was the standard. It wasn't even and like, oh, we got a couple that went to 3 hours.
No.
We probably went 3 hours plus on some of those.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then yeah, those were the days.
With no pee breaks either.
We would take a pee break sometimes.
Occasionally.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways.
And then on top of that, there was production value.
There
were guests.
It was all. That's a classic Fandango. This wasn't a
pre
classic
and
Fandango.
post work. Come on.
Okay. All right. That's it. Enough. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm ending the stream.